Why is that not working? It says it's. Oh, God, I hate this thing. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286. Boy, just as well I started a minute early because the streaming hiccup. Good morning to everybody. It's not a great morning here, but it's better than it was overnight. We had quite a bit of rain come through, and it's now actually the worst band of it is now over the Bay of Plenty, but we've certainly still got some rain clouds above us. It's about 90% cloud, 14 degrees. But we are expecting it to get cooler as the week goes by here. It's about 6 knots of westerly, tending a little bit to the north of west, but it's pretty much westerly, 1007.1. And the satellite picture for all you folk looks better than it has been in the last few days, but still a bit of troughy stuff around, which David will talk about shortly. I am being heard by the sound of it up there in Wallace, and hopefully it's not too bad everywhere else. Okay, I think what we'll go through, and I'll just do a call later and see what if there's anything coming in, but a bit of cruiser news for you. You will have heard Suzanne on our net a few months ago. She is in a boat called Nihaj. She's a single-hander. She's done some amazing stuff around the world, a German lady. She's been up in the Arctic doing some interesting stuff, just got through the passage there and has come around the world, didn't stop in New Zealand this time. Actually, it would have been interesting if she had, because she had enormous growth on the hull, which was taking her quite a bit of diving to get rid of once she got out of shark-infested waters around Australia. But anyway, she headed west. She had a really good trip through Torres. But sadly, and this is the reason for the message today, her boat is now on its side just near the entrance to La Réunion Island. That's about, well, it's east of Madagascar and 100 miles southwest of Mauritius. It's fortunately an aluminium-hulled boat, 12-metre boat. But inside, of course, it's a bit of a mess. 5-metre seas, actually, pounded her for about 40 minutes on the rocks. She, for some reason, and the details aren't out yet, well, they're actually out, but they're in German. I'm waiting for her email. She's usually pretty good at giving descriptions, particularly in a way that people can learn from them. But she had to anchor outside of La Réunion because she for some reason wasn't allowed in. So she anchored in absolutely flat seas, but overnight things turned to the worst, and the wind changed and she got 5-metre seas and just dragged. She got the anchor up, but lines wrapped around the propeller, so she had no engine. It's not lines, I don't think, from her boat. It sounds like it might have been from Craypots or whatever the equivalent is over there. But anyway, she had no engine and ended up on a very, very rocky shore. Interestingly enough, they have actually put the boat back in the water briefly to get it around into the fallout facility. And there are no leaks, amazing really, but of course inside is all stressed and twisted and not very good. So very sad things happen. She's an absolutely amazing sailor, but boy, it only takes one little misjudgment to cause havoc, doesn't it? But it does give you food for thought as to what would happen if that was you. So we certainly, David and I, did what we thought we would do. Even if you were really, really close, it's good to get that anchor back down again. Anyway, a bit better news from other cruises. Heard from Obsession. Some of you will know Lisa and Lester. They've just had 10 days of wonderful diving in the Philippines. So that will be interesting to see. I must ask them actually to, I don't know whether they take photos. They're keen divers, but it'd be interesting to get some of their best photos for the our website gallery. Actually, Soggy Falls is over in the Philippines at the moment. They've been there for quite a while, and they're keen divers too. And who else? Oh, we heard from Fatty and Carolyn on Ganesh. They're in New Caledonia, but about to head off west through to get to Indonesia. So good morning to you guys up there in New Caledonia. David will certainly, actually he's already had a brief look at that one. It's looking quite good at the moment. Okay, news from around the world. Just the usual sort of stuff at the moment, actually. Sometimes I filter out all the grim stuff, but there's nothing much other than grim stuff at the moment. Iran has called the European fleet in the Gulf hostile and provocative. Coming from them, I thought that was quite classic. But yes, they're busy talking. They're having a bit of a chat fest in Vienna at the moment, Iran and the people involved in the area, as to how things can be made a little bit more stable in the Straits of Hormuz. One of the horrible things that happened over the weekend, though, was at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. Americans will know, particularly Californians. Gilroy is about 176 clicks southeast of San Francisco. You pass it on the way going down south to Los Angeles. I've been through it a few times. They call it the garlic capital of the world. It's a vast amount of garlic is produced there. I don't know why we don't get garlic from Gilroy. I guess it's quicker to get it from China. But anyway, they have this huge garlic festival every year. They have the most amazing products with garlic in it, like ice cream, which I have never bothered to try. But anyway, a guy cut through the fence with a rifle, and for unknown reasons, and they will never be known because the police shot him dead, he killed 3 people with his rifle and injured 15 others before he was, in fact, shot by police. They got him quite quickly, didn't they? Only 3 dead, but they must have quite good control, security at these sorts of places, but not what you would expect at a garlic festival. All right, worse than that was in Libya. Usual spots, of course, are causing havoc around the world. In Libya, the renegade military commander, his forces managed to bomb from the air a field hospital, killing 5 doctors. I mean, unbelievable, really. People doing good. The general's Libyan National Army is for some reason supported by France, the UAE, Egypt and Russia. I suspect that France and Russia profit from it by selling munitions, but I can't work out the UAE and Egypt part of it. But anyway, there's things that we just don't know about. One thing I found interesting, though, from across the ditch, there was an article about a stop-go lady. You know, these are these people that, when there's construction, tell you when to stop and when to go, standing on the side of the road. Evidently, it takes 2 days of training to be a stop-go person. I have no idea how they fill out 2 days of training. But the reason for this article was that she earns Australian $130,000. Isn't that amazing? What? Yeah, that's true. Evidently, the construction boom in Australia has made a lot of work, and they just didn't have enough, so up goes the price. I would imagine that people like nurses and teachers and the like would be feeling a little bit peeved about that. I think I'd be handing in my resignation and doing the 2 days training and getting 130. Mind you, some places in Australia, imagine how many flies you need every time you, all sorts of environmental conditions maybe push it up a bit, but 130,000, that is a lot.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, just the usual mayhem from other places. Kabul in Afghanistan, a suicide bomber managed to kill 20 people and injure 50 others. In Nigeria, the same sort of thing. Boko Haram militants raided a funeral, believe it or not, over the weekend and killed 65 people. This group is trying to enforce stricter Sharia law on the nation. Maybe they had a few bottles or something to celebrate their death. I don't know. It doesn't seem a bit strange to take on a funeral. I did want, David was talking yesterday about all the fact the water that's come down on you guys over the last week or so, and you will no doubt have filled your tanks with water. And it reminded me to just mention, I could spend a whole day on this subject, but rainwater and ultra-filtered water, such as your water maker water, has very, very few minerals in it, and that can lead to some rather horrible health issues. I know this personally. The body has a very delicate balance of minerals, sodium, potassium, the fluids, calcium, magnesium, zinc, phosphorus, and other various things in your water, in the body. And if you drink water with no ions, then there's a sort of an osmotic equivalent goes on. The water that you're taking in or cooking in drags minerals out of whatever it is. If it's a pot boiling potatoes, then it drags the minerals out of the potatoes, and therefore they're not available to you. But the same thing happens in the body, in the blood serum and various other organs in the body. It actually strips out to balance basically the electrical properties. So you can get quite a few problems. Long term, you end up like me with osteoporosis because of the fact that you've got no calcium in your bones. But there's fluid retention, the other nutrient deficiencies, fatigue, muscle cramps, impaired heart rate. There's all sorts of problems. There's quite a few papers on the web about this, mostly done for strange reasons by the Russians and the Czechoslovakians and people like that. But quite a lot of work has been done to look at the effects of using water with very few minerals in it. And a lot of the water, in fact, our tap water here has not great minerals in it. I've started drinking beautiful Northern Italy water. Seems expensive, but it's got a magnificent amount of calcium in it. I won't go on, but if you are up there and you are drinking rainwater or water maker water, please take your vitamins. Okay.
Minerals.
And minerals, yes, minerals particularly. Okay, Mr. Trump, we don't go too many days without a comment about Mr. Trump. He's attacked the Congressman Elijah Cummings, who is from Baltimore. He's called Baltimore a rat and rodent infested mess. And that, of course, has upset a lot of people, and particularly Baltimore's main paper, who headlined, "Better to have a few rats than be one." So I thought that was pretty clever. Anyway, he's really got stuff. I actually quite like Baltimore. David, when we were living on opposite sides of the country, I was on the East Coast and David was on the West Coast, and I said, "Come over, I'm going to organise a trip to Baltimore." He just absolutely fell about laughing, but it's a beautiful city all around the water there. They have done an awful lot. There's a lovely big aquarium. It's actually a very nice city. And there's virtually every city, including Auckland, where there are parts that you certainly wouldn't walk at night time. I don't think I'd walk in South Auckland in the daytime, but anyway, it has got its beautiful parts. So the Baltimoreans, or whatever they are called, are naturally very upset. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump has continued to replace various people in his immediate cabinet. He's replaced the National Intelligence Chief, who he's never got on with since he appointed him in 2017. Actually, the guy resigned, but he was sort of pushed out. So he's got a new Intelligence Chief, sort of a bit of an oxymoron with Mr. Trump. But anyway, hopefully he'll take more notice of the new one. Tour de France. The Tour de France has been won by a Colombian for the first time, a 22-year-old Colombian. So that was pretty exciting. Mark Todd, sticking with the sport, has retired from competitive show jumping. He's 63. He's certainly done very well in the competitive show jumping area, but he is going to concentrate on racing, believe it or not. So there you are. It's if he can race horses at 63, you can race cars at 75. Which you do. All right, what else have we got here? Nothing much more. But you folk out there that are annoyed with your kids playing video games, there has just been the inaugural Fortnite World Cup. Now, evidently, Fortnite is a video game played by couples. Well, it's been won by a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. Now, the reason for telling you this is that they won $3 million for playing video games. It is really a different world these days, isn't it? There you have it. Okay, well, ending on a really good note. I see it's close to 1:30, and David will be taking the microphone off me shortly, but I've got my boot on. A guy here who's a very well-known doctor, he's decided to start a drive-through medical scheme. We have problems with people, particularly in the north, and various places that people can't get because of time or cost to a medical facility. And he's going to start up what he calls a Happy Meal healthcare system, sort of like a big caravan, like they do actually for mammograms and things, a big caravan with 2 windows that you can drive through and have a bit of medical attention. So that's actually quite a good idea for some of these places. So he's actually bought the first one himself, and then hopefully we'll get things organised to have a couple of hundred of them within a couple of years. So I thought that was a pretty good idea. All right, I'm just going to do a bit of a pause. We've got Eagle's Wings in Port Vila, only 4 knots, east-northeast there, up in Havana Harbour. Thank you, Kuhela. It's 5 knots southeast, 1012 with clear skies. That's really good. And good morning from this Muscat Cove. Thank you, John. 24, 1011.5 and 10 knots from the southeast. 100% cloud, but no rain. And no streaming, but it says live here, and I've got, oh yeah, he says it's working now. Oh, that's good. Boy, I was going to go into a mild panic here. All right, I'm going to do a bit of a pause and see if there's anyone with anything urgent. Otherwise, we'll take you after David has finished.
Okay, nothing heard there, and good morning. Well, you know, the weather cycles in the Southwest Pacific are usually pretty predictable. A high, a low, then another high, and so on and so forth. It just seems to be progression like this, and when you've been looking at it for years, like I have, it's quite interesting to say the least. So starting this new week, well, Tuesday anyway, we've got a high that lies to the east of New Zealand. We've been talking about it. 1034 millibar. That's followed by a low. In this case, it's a complex pattern with multiple centers. And this one is followed by the next high, just like clockwork. High, low, high, etc., etc. Now, this particular high, this third one of the trio that we're talking about, this trio of features, it's nearing Tasmania, and it is approximately 1032 millibar. That's the central pressure. And one of the depressions now in this trio lies east of East Cape. We've got probably about 3 or 4 centers in this, but this particular one, east of East Cape, is sending up an occluded front, which sort of aims northeast initially. Then when it gets to about 30 south, a trough arcs to the northwest, and that goes toward and onto Fiji. And in addition to all of that, we've got fronts and troughs that are pushing north onto the cruising routes. One goes to Norfolk Island, another one goes by Raoul Island. Now, up in the tropics, shifting gears here, the Solomon's Trough, the one that we've been talking about for virtually a week or more, runs across the Santa Cruz Islands like yesterday, onto Rotuma, then to Fiji, where it links up with the New Zealand Trough. This is very common for this to happen. Now, elsewhere in the tropics, the Tokelo Trough runs south near Samoa, just a little bit east of Samoa. Then it goes onward there to the southern Cooks. So a lot of activity for sure. Now Wallace should have some shower relief today with partly cloudy conditions. Still some showers, but certainly not like what it's been. Winds about 10 to 15 knots. Easterlies will be turning northeasterly if they haven't already. Wednesday, we're back to southeast winds and partly cloudy conditions. But come Thursday, a couple days from now, it looks like more rain. Yep, more rain for Wallace. And watch out for Friday and Saturday. And at that point, you'll be seeing a little bit more wind than you're used to there in Wallace. We're looking at about 20, maybe 25 knots, mostly out of the southeast. And of course, there will be on and off showers in the form of squalls then as well. So a little bit of variety for Wallace. So down to Tonga as that trough nears and affects the main group today for the most part. So expect cloudy periods there with showers, some of them quite heavy. We should see cloudy periods tomorrow as well, and there'll be some scattered showers. And winds east to northeast about 10 to 15, possibly rising up to about 20 knots today. Now this is for Vavau and the Hapais. Tonga Tapu, the winds north to northeast, shifting west to southwest by this evening. Now tomorrow, I would say east to northeast for Vavau and the Hapais, but Tonga Tapu looks like south to southeast. And all the winds for Wednesday look pretty light for the most part. I'd say about 10 to 15 knots, so not too bad in terms of wind issues. Actuals this morning, Vavau northeast at 7, scattered to broken, barometer 10-12. The Hapais northeast 5, scattered 10-12 as well. Very high humidity. Tonga Tapu northeast 8, scattered 10-12 as well. And of long-term interest, I think, the Oz high, the Australian high, this is one of the trio that we talked about earlier, that's going to continue to produce a rather fantastic ridge that's going to extend from the mainland Australia all the way over to 170 west. The axis for this ridge will be about 25 south. And this then is going to produce some great trade winds right through the weekend. So looking at Wednesday, tomorrow, right through certainly Monday, which I think is the 5th of August, we're going to see very, very nice trades. Pretty much southeasterlies for almost all of the main groups. And that, of course, is going to be very good for westward bound yachts. And as we just heard, Ganesh is thinking about heading more or less west to continue their, I think, 5th circumnavigation. Little breezy in the Torres Strait area toward the end of this period, 25 to 30 knots. All in a good direction, though, all out of the southeast, so no headwinds for making that journey or any other areas in that direction as well. So over to Fiji now. Our persistent but fairly weak trough continues to provide cloud and showers, and there's thunderstorms in this with areas of heavy rain when that happens. With a little bit of luck, this trough may move away from the group late tonight into tomorrow, but we'll see if that really does happen. Poor Rotuma, though, nope, not them. They're going to continue with trough conditions for the next few days. Now, Fiji Met is calling for east and southeast winds 15 to 20 today, and southeasterlies tomorrow, and 15 to 20 as well. So about the same wind strength, slightly different direction. So expect moderate to rough seas, and there'll be a moderate southeast swell coming in. Now, radar sweeps show light scattered returns over pretty much the entire group. Again, they come, they go, that sort of thing. Some early actuals today, early this morning. Undue Point, southeast 5, 10, 11. on the barometer. The northern Niçois, east-southeast 7, 10, 12. Vanilla Balavo, the northern Lao, south 1 knot, 10, 15 on the barometer. Nandi, calm, 10, 11. Nassori was northwest 3, 10, 12. And little Ovatuco down there, south at 3, 10, 11 on the barometer. Ono, northwest at 10, 10, 12. Now the winds are going to pick up Friday, this coming Friday, right through that 5th of August time frame that I talked about. And all of that is thanks to the Oz Ridge building. And I think we'll be looking, of course, at southeasterlies, and they're going to be getting up to 20 to 25 knots. So there will be some wind in this, but all trade wind type conditions. Over to Vanuatu now. It looks fine, actually, on satellite imagery. There's scattered cloud, typical tropics. Not much else, though. The winds today mostly southeast for the group, about 10 to 15 knots, and about the same tomorrow. Slightly stronger, I'd say, in the northern half of the group from what I just gave you, and a little bit lighter in the southern half from what I just gave you. So anyway, looking at actuals for early this morning, Sola southeast 20, yeah, blowing a bit up there to the north, barometer 10, 11. Santo southeast 5, drops considerably, barometer 10, 12. Afate northeast at 3 and 10, 13, 1013 millibar. Tana, calm, 10, 13. And unfortunately, no data has come in for Anisha, so I can't give you any METARs from that area. Over to Newcal now on imagery, shows scattered to broken cloud, fair amount actually. Winds in the southern lagoon, southeast about 10 knots or so. Tomorrow, mostly southerlies, and that'll be in the 15 knot range. Winds will pick up a little bit on Thursday, southeast getting up to about 20 knots, 20 knots. So the outer reef early this morning, actuals east 8 to 11 knots there. Ile de Pan south to southeast about 5, and Noumea east to northeast about 8. Radar, the radar imagery shows quite a bit of shower activity in the southern lagoon. Pretty good opportunity to mop up some of the salt that are on the decks. So there you go. That's the weather for that general area. And I'll pass it over to the chief to see if we have any comments or questions.
Actually, a couple more actuals for you. We've got a boat up in the northern Viti Levu area. Thank you, Diane, for the report from Wally. I love the name of that resort. Beautiful start to their day. Northerly 2 to 4 knots, not much at all. 1010 with clear sunny skies. And the same reported from Lady Nada, who motored all night from Savu. They're about 5 miles west of Vanua Balavu. No cloud, 2 knots from the east, about a half a metre swell. So it's looking rather good everywhere there. So that's good. Good morning to the east coast of Australia. Flying fish reports we're coming in rather well there, so that's good. Forgot to, well, it looks like it's still pretty sporty there if you're listening this morning, Jeffrey, and also to Tuaki who are up in Louisiades. Good morning to you guys. Okay, is there any questions or needing for any other information? Please call now. Is there any relays? I'm not sure whether I heard anybody there or not. Certainly not very strong. Is there any relays for us? Oh, good morning, Ron and Cheryl. Go ahead, Ron. Oh, I didn't get much of that. I know Excel are calling, and I presume they are in Wallace. Are they wanting to leave, Ron? Over. I'd say they were wanting to leave. Oh, it's good. Boy, it's bad from you this morning, Ron. So conditions are not very good. So it sounds like they are leaving this morning. Have you got anything further to add from? Hang on, I'll just pass the microphone.
Where are they going?
I have no idea.
Well, we're not sure where they're going. Assuming they're going to Fiji, I would guess. But anyway, tomorrow and Thursday, conditions are fairly mellow in terms of wind. We're looking at maybe east-southeast, southeast. The only change that's coming is going to be on Friday, maybe late Thursday into early Friday. The wind is going to pick up. Fairly fresh. We're looking at 20 knots, maybe gusts to 25, getting closer to BD Lavu. I would say a good 25 right in there as you get close on Thursday, and Friday rather. And looking at Saturday, pretty much the same, east, southeast, southeast, a good solid 20 knots from what I could see. So there you go. The wind's in a pretty good direction, but it gets a little bit sporty at the end of the week.
Boy, I've just got too much. Hang on a minute. No, there's not much I can do with this noise. It is what it is, unfortunately. So hopefully that did something to help the situation there. But thanks for the effort, Ron. Boy, if we can't hear you, there's not going to be too much chance of hearing others. But I will just pause in case there is anybody else for an area that we haven't covered. Oh, good morning, Alan. A pretty good signal from you. Are you still down in the Southern Lagoon? Over. Oh, goodness gracious, you got up to Noumea. Oh, okay. So I guess that the work has started on fixing the autopilot. Over. This is terrible this morning. I think I'll turn off streaming. They won't want to hear that.